Welcome, everyone, to a little bit of light awaiting Moshiach. Last week, we began speaking about the root of Lashon Hara, speaking derogatorily about others. And we said that the root of it is a person's ego, a person's feeling that they have to be above someone else, they have to be at least equal, if not above. And there is that feeling of void that exists within a person, that they feel this lack of self-worth unless they are above someone else, or at least equal. And the Lashon Hara is what satisfies our feeling of knocking someone down and feeling superior to them. And we began last week speaking about the antidote. How do we attack that root? And I like to elaborate on it. And I like to read to you from the words of the Mesilas Yesharim, the Path of the Just, Perek Yud Aleph in chapter 11. And he is addressing what kinna, envy, jealousy, which we mentioned last week. Jealousy essentially is the same thing as what we've been saying. It's this feeling that someone else can't have something over me. I need to be over them. And the difficulty of being able to tolerate that. And the feelings of lacking, and the feeling that if somebody else has what I don't have, they've taken it away from me. So the Mesilas Yesharim, I'm going to read to you from the English translation. Envy too is no more the result of foolishness and a lack of understanding. An envious person does not gain anything for himself and does not cause any loss to the one he envies. He alone loses out. As the verse previously mentioned states, envy will kill the fool. So that's the foolishness aspect of it. Then he says, however, that's the essential foolishness of it. However, there is a type of person whose foolishness is so great that if he sees another with anything good, he becomes disheartened with himself and worries and suffers, even to the extent that he derives no pleasure even from the good things that he himself possesses because of his anguish over what the other has. This is what the wise King Solomon said when he wrote, envy is the decay of the bones. So you've got this person who just can't handle. He falls apart. He becomes distressed over what someone else has that he doesn't. There are others who are now as anguished. There are others who are not as anguished and pained. Nonetheless, unless he, meaning the object of one's envy, is one of their closest friends, they will feel some measure of anguish, or at least some coolness, when they see the other increase his stature significantly. There he is. He's going up. What's happening to me? Where am I standing? This applies even more strongly if he is part of a group that they don't particularly like, and even more so if he is a stranger from another country. Outwardly, they might say things that seem to reflect their happiness or thankfulness over his good fortune. But in their hearts, they become dejected. This is a common occurrence with most people, though they are not really in the grip of envy. They have not completely purged themselves of this characteristic. An even stronger reaction will occur if one's fellow craftsman meets with success, for every craftsman dislikes his peer, particularly if his peer is more successful than he is. So again, if he's successful as me, that's a problem, because I'm supposed to be above him. If he's even more successful than me, now that is really a killer. That's really a problem. Now, here is where Mesilas Yesharim addresses how to deal with it. If only they knew and understood. He cites a saying from the Talmud in Yoma 38b, a person cannot touch even a hair's breadth of what is set aside for his fellow. What he has, you cannot take away. And that everything is dispensed by the Eternal to all, in accordance with his wondrous counsel and his unfathomable wisdom. If we would get that, if we would internalize that, there would be no reason whatsoever for their suffering over the good fortune of their fellows. If you know that everything comes from Hashem, and it's with his wisdom and plan of what you have, what someone else has, what you don't have, what you may have over someone else, if one understands that's all part of how Hashem orchestrates and runs our lives, according to his wondrous counsel and unfathomable wisdom, that means it's for our good. It's for the good of everything. If we could be able to internalize that, if we could internalize that we're not missing anything that we see someone else has or someone else's success, if we can do that, there would be no envy. As he says, there would be no reason whatsoever for their suffering over the good fortune of their fellows. There'd be no reason for it because I'm not lacking anything. This is what so this is what the Moshiach is telling us is the way to approach it. This is how we approach the root problem of Lashon Hara and of envy. And when I think about this, we're human beings, and we're going to have these feelings. And we have to challenge those feelings with contemplation of the truth of Emunah, of faith, of bitachon, of trust in Hashem, that He is running everything for our best. And so we're going to feel envy. We're going to feel bad. We're going to feel that void. We're going to want to be over someone else. That's a natural reaction. The question is, how do we react to that? And the reaction should be our contemplation in Emunah, in our faith, and trust in Hashem. And that isn't going to solve the problem immediately. This is something that takes time. It's a lifelong challenge. But if we counter those feelings, every time we counter those feelings, we are internalizing the truth, which will make it easier for us to deal with it, which will not let us lose ourselves, and with the help of Hashem, remove, at some level, these feelings of envy. It should be that as soon as we have those feelings of envy, right away, what comes into our mind is Emunah, is faith in Hashem, is bitachon, trust in Hashem. That would be something, that would be a great accomplishment if we work on contemplating this idea to the point that it becomes our automatic reaction. And even then, not to let it dissipate, but to take that reaction and think about it and counter those feelings. Are the feelings going to disappear? Not necessarily. Not right away. We hope they'll be minimized. With Hashem's help, we'll reach the level of not feeling any kind of kinna, any kind of bad feeling over someone else's success. But the point is to understand we're going to have those feelings, but our challenge, our lifelong challenge, is to counter those feelings with the contemplation of our belief that Hashem runs the world, and our bitachon, that trust that it's for our best. And then the Moshiach continues, this is what the prophet foretells about the future, referring to the times of Mashiach, that in order to enable Israel to attain all the good has been promised, the eternal Hashem, prior to this, will remove this ugly trait of envy from our hearts. At that time, one will no longer feel anguish over another's good fortune, and one who is successful will not be compelled to conceal himself and his affairs from the envy of others. That's the idea that a person does not want to bring about other people's envy, and because of that, they'll hide their success, and that shouldn't happen. Won't be necessary. As the prophet says, the envy of Ephraim will be removed, and the suffering caused by the enemies of Yehuda will be eradicated. Ephraim will not envy Yehuda, and Yehuda will not make Ephraim suffer. This is what we are hoping for. This is part of our awaiting Mashiach. That when Mashiach comes, these feelings of envy, these feelings of our ego getting the best of us, that's going to go away. We hope that will come very soon. And until then, we need to work on our Emunah, our faith, and our trust in Hashem. That everything we have is from Hashem, everything we don't have is from Hashem, and it's all for our best. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.